Today, we're talking to author Stephen Sayer about 100 Things to Do in Plymouth and HSP Coach Doreen Lang, learning about the South Shore Community Action Council and companion planting with the Three Sisters. We'll visit the Pembroke Farmers Market, hear original poetry, talk about upcoming things to do in our area, and revisit our story on the Plymouth 9/11 Memorial on Spooner Street. We have a lot to get to, and we're glad you're here. Let's get started. There's so much to do in Plymouth. Have you ever counted? Author Stephen Sayers has, as we learned when he visited our studios to talk about his book, 100 Things to Do in Plymouth, Massachusetts, Before You Die.
We are here with Stephen Sayers, a local author who has published the book, The 100 Things to Do in Plymouth, Massachusetts, Before You Die. Stephen, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here because I'm interested to see what I don't know about Plymouth. So let's start with a little bit about who you are and your background and how did you get to Plymouth?
Yeah, so I'm right now I'm a 21-year seasonal resident of Plymouth, and I grew up, spent my summers on Cape Cod, and every twice, 2-3 times a summer, my parents would load up the car and come to Plymouth. And it was so exciting because we'd do all these exciting things. We'd have the seafood, and we'd go to the Rock, which again used to be an event. It seemed so much bigger back then, but we all know it's a little underwhelming. But yeah, so that was the joy of the summer. And I'd go back to the Cape and I'd be like, oh, it's so boring here. And I knew someday that I would end up in Plymouth. So that's how I kind of came to Plymouth. I had the opportunity to write this book. A publisher was looking, publisher who, Reedy Press, that does these 100 Things book. They have a whole national best-selling series of these, 100 Things New York City, 100 Things San Francisco. They wanted a Plymouth book. And so I jumped at the opportunity and it was, had a great time doing it. And it was a great reminder of all the things that I hadn't been doing. So it was an adventure.
So was it a part of rediscovering what Plymouth is and having to relearn Plymouth as a base, as a town, and what it offers?
Yeah, the longer you live somewhere, the less you do. And I was definitely in that rut. I mean, I probably moved here because of the beaches. That's what I wanted to be close to. And spent my time in those areas and had kids, and we went to the same restaurants and we went to the same places. And this was definitely a rediscovery. And it's something that I needed and something I really wanted to do, to really find out more about the place that I'd lived for so long.
So how did you go about writing the book? Did you have a process to do it?
Yeah, so of course coming up with a list of 100 is the job, and I thought, oh, how am I going to get to 100? But it was more like, how do I get back to 100 after I had accumulated a lot of information? So I started talking with friends, and we'd get together and talk about places that we liked. What do you like to? Where do you like to eat? What do you like to do at night? Where do you like to go? Those kind of things. And started building that list. And I even reached out to some Facebook groups and all things Plymouth. And when you accumulate all the information you're getting, there's a lot of things that stand out. And I was like, I better try that because there's a lot of people talking about it. And these were things I wasn't aware of. So in a way, it was a kind of a community effort, which I really enjoyed. And even used some citizens' quotes in the book, which I thought was kind of fun.
Oh, that's great. So the town really is a part.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. In fact, I was at Plymouth Center for the Arts for First Fridays, and this woman came up to me and she says, I'm Susan and I'm in your book. And so it was great to meet her finally, like officially, face to face. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Was there anything that surprised you? Because you curate the list based on activities and things like food, history, outdoors, shopping. What surprised you? Was there anything that?
The things that surprised me were mostly the things I didn't know. I think learning about the two other rocks Pulpit Rock and Sacrifice Rock. I didn't know about those things. I was surprised by a lot of information that I did not know. The history, some of the myths in the history and the truths that I was able to uncover while talking about certain areas, like Coles Hill, for example. I didn't know that was actually the first burial site in Plymouth, and that they only discovered it in 1735 when the bones washed into the harbor. So there was a lot of things that surprised me in terms of knowledge.
Was there an area that you gravitated to personally for things to do?
Yeah, so I again, moving here for the beaches, I enjoy the outdoor activities, and I was a little bit unaware of all of the open spaces that we have. I knew Miles Standish State Forest, and I'd done some biking there, and I kind of learned about Tidmarsh and that kind of rewilding of that former cranberry bog. What an amazing space that is now. And also some of the things with organizations like Wildland Trusts that have really, in terms of conservation, have preserved a lot of natural areas in Plymouth. So for me, that is the number one draw, one of the number one draws. There's so many.
So have you made it to all the 100 places that you list in the book?
Yeah, so that's a question I get a lot, which is a fair question. And I would say in my years here, I've been just about everywhere. But I made a conscious effort to go back to the places and see what the growth was. The one thing I will say is that I'm not so much of a foodie. For me to go to like 34 different restaurants, I probably would have gained 50 pounds, or gone broke in the process. But I really did a lot of research on the restaurants and talked to a lot of people about the specialties and talked to some of the owners of the restaurants and really learned a lot without eating at all the restaurants. But all the other things I went to and did.
Plymouth is really known for its history also, and you touched a little bit on it. Do you think it's something that's a little bit underappreciated, that we stop at a certain time period and don't see what else?
Yes, I do. And one of the things I discovered again was Plymouth Cordage Museum and the Plymouth Cordage Company, which was just this progressive company that was looking out for its employees 100 years ago, giving them health care and education and schools and nutrition programs and all of these things. I don't think Plymouth knows enough about that the Bourne Spooner, who I guess started the company, understood that a happy worker is a productive worker. You give them housing, you give them a good quality of life, and they're gonna do a great job. And that was the #1 rope and twine company for 100 years. And we stop at the 1600s, and we don't know that about Plymouth, but that's a real driving force in Plymouth, and was for a century.
So after going through the 100 things, more than the 100 things, narrowing it down and revisiting some of them, what would you say is your perfect day in Plymouth?
Perfect day starts with a walk on the beach.
Okay.
Always. I just love getting out there when it's quiet, it's nice and cool, and there's not a lot of people out there. Getting on the bike maybe and going out to Miles Standish State Forest for an hour or so, feeling some more of that open air. Of course, going downtown, maybe getting something at Wood Seafood, which I really like. I've always liked the basics. It doesn't have to be gourmet. Going down to the Spire and listening to some music, and going out with some friends and going to one of the breweries at the end of the night. And then maybe when I get home, taking another walk on the beach.
That sounds great, actually. That sounds like a perfect weekend thing to do.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
And what would you recommend for residents on how to rediscover Plymouth?
Well, obviously, read the book. That's a good thing. But I think getting out of your comfort zone is a really good thing. And I always think about this book as, there's 100 things to do. If you did something new just once a week, you'd have 2 years of things to do. And it's little steps of finding out, what's out there and doing something a little different. And I think that really makes you get an appreciation for where you live as I did, because there were a lot of things I didn't know.
That's great. That's great advice anyway for life. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure meeting with you and talking about Plymouth.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thanks.
The town of Kingston's history has been varied and rich since its incorporation in 1726. An early shipbuilding hub, it was a residential suburb for many Plymouth Cordage Company workers and a popular shoreline escape for Bostonians. In 2026, this quaint and storied town will celebrate its 300th birthday, and a committee has been formed to plan a wide swath of events around this historical marker. Already in the works is Old Home Day, a scavenger hunt, an historic house tour, a parade, and fireworks. The Kingston 300 Committee is seeking members across the entire community: veterans, Wampanoag Native people, youth, seniors, religious organizations, schools, business owners, everyone, so that all of Kingston's residents, past and present, are represented in the festivities on this monumental anniversary. If you're interested, please attend the next meeting on September 18th or contact the Board of Selectmen's office to be appointed. Meetings are on every third Wednesday of the month. Plymouth County Sheriff McDonald has a farm, and on this farm, he will host the annual anticipated Free Family Farm Festival. On Saturday, September 28th, come on down to enjoy free hay rides, a petting zoo, craft activities, and the chance to see and touch a truck for kids. Don't miss the sale on pumpkins and chrysanthemums or the exciting demonstration featuring police canines showing off their heroic working dog skills. The people of the First Light, the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, will present a performance and exhibition you'll want to see. To make the day even more jam-packed, the Sheriff's Farm is happy to be partnering with the Plymouth's 5th Annual Health and Wellness Fair, organized by BID Plymouth and the Plymouth Public Library. Free and happening at the library, they'll have activities for kids, music, food, a cooking demonstration, and mobile farmers market, health education and resources, risk assessment, fingerprinting and ID for kids and seniors, and fun activities for kids. Sounds like some perfect fall family fun. Both fair and festival run from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the 28th. Literature has Emily, Charlotte, and Anne Bronte, and culinary agriculture has corn, beans, and squash. Known as the Three Sisters Planting Method, we went on the local scene with Jackie Millar of Terra Cura to learn about this traditionally Native American companion planting method where the crops support each other, like sisters.
Well, today we are doing something very special and very exciting, I think for the community, but also to me personally. We are going to be planting down here something we've had in the past and we haven't had for a while. It's called the Three Sisters Garden, and it's a great reflection of really the complex and superior technology that the Native American culture had when the Pilgrims first landed here in 1620.
So today we did a Three Sisters Garden, which is a very exciting planting method that the indigenous people have brought to the Pilgrims, really, so they could have the three sisters, which was beans, corn, and squash. And that's what we did today at the Plymouth County Horticultural Center. So we have a mound of dirt that we have installed, and that's next to the demonstration gardens that we had installed before that. So we were lucky enough to have Melissa Costa come as well, and she's an indigenous person from the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, so it was really nice to have her perspective on what we did today.
A story of the Three Sisters is really a story about working together, where the corn is grown first, and it is the support system for the beans. And the beans are actually going to be climbing up that stalk of the corn, where the squash will then protect the other two from soft pod animals. When we are planting today, we'll be planting in a mound. That mound actually represents a woman's pregnant belly giving life. And through that, you'll put the corn, beans, and squash all in that mound as a seed, and they'll grow together like a belly, like a baby.
So permaculture, again, we work with nature. That's what's so important. So permaculture, if you have a whole system design at your house, you're going to have a rain barrel, you're going to have a compost system, you're going to have an organic garden, you're going to capture and store things on your property. So a Three Sisters garden to me is permaculture. It's a full circle design.
It's an interesting name, the Three Sisters. Why do we call it that? And that name goes back to the name that was given to it by the Wampanoags. They called them sisters because the females, they were the givers of life. You know, that's where life sprang from. So it would be natural that it would say this is Three Sisters. The first of the sisters, the eldest sister, if you will, was the corn. And the corn, as we know, grows tall in stalks. It is known as the eldest of the sisters. But it also provided, as the eldest and tallest sister, a great framework upon which the second sister, which is the beans, the climbing beans, and the beans were the giving sister. And what do I mean by the giving sister? Well, the beans, as science tells us, would obtain nitrogen from the environment, which is necessary for the other plants as well as a fertilizer to grow. So the giving sister, the beans, provided the fertilizer, or part of the fertilizer that those three sisters would need to grow. And also we know that beans are also a great foodstuff for both the natives and eventually for the pilgrims. And the third sister for the three sisters is the squash, which grows low to the ground like pumpkins and squash. You know, we've seen large leaves, they're on the ground. They were known as the protective sister. And what they would do, because irrigation and water can sometimes be tough, when water was placed upon the three sisters, the protective sister, the squash, would shield that moisture from evaporation from the sun. So as you can see, all of those sisters work together to help each other grow, create food, and help to feed all of the people that were here in 1620.
This method is being used today more often than not because people are starting to realize if you want to plant in a small space, like in a city, this is the perfect way to do so because you can put a lot of crops in one area. You're going to see this method also used because it can utilize a small space and it takes less water.
As you see, you know, as we're here, cars come and cars go. Many young families will come with the children. There's a very large educational component to this. It's great for the kids to come and see, but I think most importantly is to see some of the food crops that we're growing here for use in the community. And I think, you know, although the kids may not understand where that food is going, they do know that much of that food is consumed by them. And I think it's important for all of us, not just the kids, but it's starting young is really great for kids to understand that when they're sitting at home, those green beans that they get don't grow in a can. They come from a plant somewhere, and someone has to plant and nurture that. And the understanding that comes from where their food comes from, I think, is a great lesson, not just in science and in food, but in life. And it's a wonderful thing that we're able to provide here at the farm.
There's a new monthly meet and greet at the Pembroke Council on Aging. Meet Your Local Officials will offer an opportunity to meet and learn about the local officials in your neighborhood, their roles in town governance, initiatives, and priorities both now and for the future of the community. Best of all is your opportunity to ask questions and share your thoughts about what goes on in your town, as well as a way to find out about local projects and events you can get involved in. The first Meet Your Local Officials will be on Monday, September 23rd at 4 p.m. and feature Recreation Director Lance Kennedy. Lance runs the beautiful new community center, is also an active member of the school committee and the town landing committee, and looks forward to meeting with you. The Pembroke Council on Aging is at 128 Center Street in Pembroke. Author, public historian, museum professional, and educator Stephen C. O'Neill will present Major Judah Alden, A Revolutionary Life at the Duxbury Free Library on Tuesday, September 17th at 6:30 p.m. Take a journey through the life of this Revolutionary War hero born and raised in Duxbury. The great-great-grandson of John and Priscilla Alden, Judah led Duxbury's company of Minutemen and served as an officer in the Continental Army. He led a full life after the war, becoming a merchant and serving in town and state offices. From 1829 until his death in 1845, he was president of the Massachusetts Society of Cincinnati, an organization that is still active and generously provided a grant to sponsor this talk. Stephen C. O'Neill's experience researching and curating the archaeology exhibit of artifacts discovered on the site of John and Priscilla's 17th century home will inform this illuminating lecture, which can be attended in person at the Duxbury Free Library or online via Zoom. To register, visit the Duxbury Free Library website. People with sensory processing sensitivities may have increased reactivity to both external and internal stimuli like noise, light, pain, and emotions. This can lead to complex challenges, and Tiff Phillips invited highly sensitive person coach Doreen Lang on the Open Here podcast to learn more.
I'm with Miss Doreen Lang. Welcome. Super excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So let's start from the beginning. So tell us about your professional background. What led you to become a Reiki practitioner, a business owner, and an author?
Sure. My background is actually in operations, property operations. I've managed Independent Small, which is now Kingston Collection. I was a GM there. I managed senior living communities all over New England, the Brownstones in Boston. So my background has been corporate business operations, capital projects, on the rooftops, that whole deal. That's been my background. But I woke up one morning with a really, I still can't describe it. I want to say it's an awakening, but it was like I felt like someone literally punched me, and I was having a heart attack at the same time, just to find out that it wasn't a breakdown, it was like a wake up. And all that kept me calm and got me in the right place was something I had never heard of before called Reiki. So Reiki was so powerful for me to get me in such a better mental place and physical place that I thought, this is crazy. I'm going to change my entire life, my entire career, and I'm going to open up a Reiki studio and help people, just like that. And people said, don't do it. I'm making six figures. The ego's big. I'm all over I'm busy. I'm managing hundreds of people. And I said, no, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I opened up a studio in Norwell called Blossom Healing Studio. And the reason I call it Blossom Healing is because when people come out of my Reiki studio after feeling Reiki, they blossom. They glow. They look amazing. And I thought, I've got to name this place Blossom Healing Studio. And that's where I am right now.
You're so brave. That's a really courageous step.
Yeah.
A lot of people are really scared to take that risk and take the financial hit and whatnot. That's incredible. We are going to chat about the book in just a minute, but I wanted to get a little bit about you. In addition to being a writer and a public speaker, you also own your business. You talked about that a little bit. Give us a little bit of an idea about what Reiki is about.
Sure. When I first heard, I thought, it's woo-woo. That's what people call things that are crazy, woo-woo. I don't know if I even like that word, but I guess what else can you say? But Reiki is actually just a Japanese form of deep relaxation with healing benefits. And what's so cool about Reiki that changed my life was that, and I didn't know this, I was on a hamster wheel. How much can I do in a day? And then when I'm going to bed, the lists come out. And weekends are just as busy, and I'm getting calls at 2 a.m. to jump on the roof, and it's insane. But what Reiki does is it calms your mind in such a way, in your body, that you're able to, I know this sounds crazy, but almost heal, right? Because you're in such a deep, deep rest that interesting things happen, really interesting things happen. Like you'll come up with a solution to something that you've been thinking about for like years. It'll come into your mind. If you've been really missing your mom or really missing your passed away father, all of a sudden, they'll be right there comforting you. Or you'll be connecting with them in such a way where you feel peaceful when I say, you can not so much wake up, but, when you come back to your awareness. It's what it does is it calms your mind down in such a wonderful way that you're able to access and I call it the slice in the back of your mind that holds all your wisdom, all your intuition, and all your dreams and answers, all your answers that we don't even know we have because we're not putting any energy back there. We're human. We think we're human doings instead of human beings, right?
That's incredible. So you wrote a book, Embracing Venus, Achieve a Life Lit Up for Highly Sensitive People. It was released last April. Can you tell us a little bit about the book? What made you want to write that?
Sure. So I wasn't planning on writing a book. I actually wrote 3 books before this. This is my 4th book. And the reason why I say that is because I love to write, but it's just because I find that I'm the type that likes to share information, as you can tell, because I'm happy to be here. But the reason I wrote this book was because when I was giving people Reiki, when I was literally in the room and all people do is take off their shoes, and I say to them, your only job is to relax, whether it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and I do a light touch on the certain chakras of their body where the energy vortexes receive and give off energy. And I would literally feel, I almost could feel their energy and feel their stress and feel their pain. And I would get these visions, and it was bizarre. So when they came out of my Reiki room, I would share, may I share what I saw? And they'd be like, okay. And in one situation, there's an older woman that came in, and may I tell it briefly?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so this older woman came in, and she was very sad because her boyfriend, she's 77, and her boyfriend had just passed away. And they never married, and she was alone in the house. And she said, I really want to come into Reiki because I'm just so emotionally wrong. I just need to get balanced out. And I said, sure. So she came in, I gave her Reiki. During Reiki, I saw her walking into from her dining room to her living room with a teacup. But she was kind of jittering it. And I looked down below and I saw this white cat, the tail circling her leg. And I thought, oh, that's sweet. She has a cat to comfort her. And I didn't think anything more of it. So when she came out of the Reiki room and she says, I feel so good, Doreen. I feel so relaxed. Wow, that was so nice. And I said, may I share what I saw? And most everyone says yes. And I told her, I said, I saw your cat. And I told her about the white cat. And she said, I don't have a cat. And I said, oh, okay, well, I don't know why I saw the cat. And she said, but I've been really lonesome. And I've been shopping for a cat. And I picked out a cat, and I'm picking it up today. And it's a white adult cat. And I said, why an adult cat? Because I saw a big cat. Why not a kitten? Because, you want to nurture it. And she said, when you're over like 60, they don't let you buy a new kitten because the cat will outlive you. And I thought, oh. And she said, oh my. And she was all excited that she was going to be that happy in her house. And I saw that cat with her. So again, the Reiki, even though she's relaxing, I'm getting from her. It's just fascinating what people I know again, woo-woo, but there's this energy that you give off. It's intuition. It's whatever you want to call it. I'm still figuring it out. But the reason I wrote the book, to answer you, I'm sorry, long story, is because when I came out of the Reiki sessions, when people left, after I shared a little bit and was honest with them, I just wrote and wrote and wrote because I found it fascinating. And one story turned into another story, all truths. And I thought, people have to read this. This is just too cool.
That's amazing. How long did it take you to write the book if it just wrote itself, basically?
Just about a year.
Wow,
about a year.
Impressive.
It's about a year. But in the meantime, I found out because of my issues and why I did this is because 50 to 20% of the population are called highly sensitives. But the extreme of that is an empath. And the difference is highly sensitive people, it's a sensitivity to sounds and smells and the world around you and energy and, there's a lot to that. But the empath, the difference is that an empath is a person. Again, I know, woo-woo, I keep saying it, but it's true. It's a person who takes on the energy of somebody else.
Huh.
And that's how I knew when I got sick. That's how I knew why I started looking into this originally, was when I had that catastrophe where I thought I was having a heart attack and all that. I was still working like insane, but I had a family member living with us for about 9 months, and he was very depressed. And I was sitting with him every morning, and you'll find a job today, and I'll make a nice dinner tonight. And I was taking on the energies to a point where it became me. I took it on. It was me. I was feeling his pain. And that's what caused me to almost have a breakdown.
Wow.
So there's people out there, and people might say, oh, Doreen, you're just nice. You're just kind. And I said, yeah, I am nice, and I am really kind. But not everyone takes on the energy of other people.
Right.
This is the extreme. This is what an empath does. And this is what I help people with in my studio.
So what are some other traits of highly sensitive people?
Sure. I mean, I'll call, Tinker's son in Norwell.
Mm-hmm.
I'll call there to go to lunch or something, but I call first, not to make a reservation. Because if it's too noisy, I'm not going. I cannot relax. I can't eat. It's just stimulation is the stick that could break the back of a highly sensitive person. It's overstimulation. So it's, if you go to a concert, you're going to find highly sensitive people, even if they have the front row seats, you're going to see them in the back, probably with earplugs in, because it's just too much. Bright lights, crowds, even family gatherings, even though with all that crazy that goes on with every single family, sometimes more than 2 or 3 people is just overwhelming.
Right.
So it's a real challenge, but the beautiful part is these people, because they're so sensitive, their intuition is deep, 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 deep. And they're incredibly, have incredible ways of intuiting, loving, caring, seeing the big picture. Really interesting traits that really balance the. I even have a 9-year-old boy coming to see me as a highly sensitive child who comes in for Reiki because he's just so overstimulated, and I'm giving him tools to kind of find a way to manage it. It's like anything else, right? It's managing.
Right. Do highly sensitive people tend to take on the role of trying to make other people more empathetic, more sensitive? Is that their job? I mean,
That's really interesting. I don't think that's their job, but I could be wrong. I'm just being me. But I do believe that when I am working with someone in my program and I'm helping them to see their empathy and their deep empathy and their sensitivity and get clarity around it, when they leave me and they feel good about that, they feel good about themselves, this is how I see it. I believe they're touching the next person, whether it's the gas station person, whether it's the clerk, whether it's their husband, whether it's their daughter, whatever it is. That kindness translates, and I think that translates to that person to warm them. And I believe then that touches the next person, and that touches the collective.
right.
That's how I really see it. I don't think it's our job, but I think it's our natural ability to just want to comfort, want to be present.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you hope people take away from the book?
Yeah, I think clarity. I think there's so many people, I think even CEOs. I mean, I had I'm very proud of it. I worked really hard. I got my bachelor's, my master's, went to my PhD, blah, blah, blah. I worked really hard doing that while I was working full-time, 2 kids, the whole thing. And I was really, really successful, but I kept putting all my energy into caring for and coaching all my staff, my maintenance, roving maintenance, all of them, caring, coaching. And I thought there was something wrong with me because I loved that. So people read this book, I think hopefully they're going to say, first of all, it's really fascinating. People say they can't put it down because the stories are so cool, which is neat, but mostly because they can learn that as a highly sensitive person, it's a wonderful place to be if you understand it. So I'm hoping, honestly, it's educating and clarity.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is your life's mission to kind of guide people on their journey to happiness and like inner peace?
Yeah, I 100% do, because even with my I call it my big jobs. When I was little, my mother used to say, she has a big job, he has a big job. So it's in my head, big job. I had a big job. But even though I did, my goal and why I kept teams together was because my work is to help people see and be authentic. That's the Embracing Venus. I picked this book, this cover. I worked really hard to get this cover for this book because it's a person, a woman, happens to be a woman and a woman's figure that comes in from the ocean as like a virgin embracing Venus as a person who's just as she is, just as you are. And that is, you're perfect just as you are.
Yeah.
But as a highly sensitive person, you don't feel that way because you really struggle.
I get that.
Yeah.
In what ways has Reiki and your work really fulfilled you as a person?
I really, again, this might sound silly, but it is about service. I mean, even what you're doing for me now, giving me the opportunity to talk, you're helping me. So you're helping me help people. And that's really what it's all about. That's, at the end of the day, that's when you feel good. I mean, it's great to have money in the bank to pay the bills and then extra. That's all important and critical. But the part that touches your soul, that's the work that you want to do.
Yeah. You're doing some incredible work. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Learn more about Doreen at blossomhealingstudio.com. Get the tea on tea at the Duxbury Senior Center on Friday, September 20th from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. for an intimate tea tasting with Duxbury's Youth Services Librarian and tea connoisseur Jessica Phillips. Are you curious about the differences between white and green tea, oolong and herbal? As you sip Pinky Up on Bai Mu Dan, Luan Guapian, and Qian Lan, Jessica will provide enriching information and delightful details about the varieties that fill your cup. The event takes place in the Ellison Large Side Room. Seats are limited, so be sure to sign up soon through the Senior Center's website. Put on your favorite Western wear and mosey on down to the Pembroke COA's Country Western Day on Wednesday, September 25th at high noon. The hot topic will be the stupendous chili cook-off. And if you have a superb recipe you want to prepare for competition, the entry fee is only $5. Cowpokes looking to be taste testers pay just $2, and the winner of the best chili gets bragging rights and takes home the entire pot of money. There will be a delicious barbecue chicken dinner for just $2.50 per plate. Call the center at 781-294-8220 to get your cook-off application or for more information. We went on the local scene to the Pembroke Farmers Market.
It definitely has taken a village to make this come to life. It's just kind of crazy to see it actually here. You know, like it started with just an idea, and now we actually have people setting up behind us who are, you know, local. A lot of people are actually from Pembroke. We have people from the surrounding towns. I mean, it's really cool to see. There used to be a farmer's market here run by Matt York, and it will probably feel a little bit different, but I think people were sad when, you know, that went away, and so I think people are really excited to see it come back and, you know, be a little bit different probably too. We knew that there were a lot of small businesses here in Pembroke, but I honestly had no idea how many. I think over half of the vendors today alone are from Pembroke. I mean, that's how many people from Pembroke. We actually had a vendor meeting to kind of meet everyone and to talk about the market and just to kind of like give them a little information. And it was so funny because there were so many people who knew each other. They grew up with each other, like they rode the bus together when they were kids. So we actually didn't realize just how meaningful it would be to local vendors because there are so many little businesses here in Pembroke. A lot of them are food-based, some of them are craft. So it's really cool to see that we're supporting people and their livelihood and helping to support not just small businesses, but really, really hyper-local in our town. So it's been very cool.
I run a Cushing farm here in Pembroke, 44 Center Street, with my husband and my 3 children. We have chickens and we sell eggs. Right now we have starts, vegetable starts, tomatoes and basil, things like that. The opening of the farmers market is so exciting because the center of Pembroke has not had a farmers market in quite a few years. But now that we have the sidewalks and now the community center, I think it will just be the link that will bring the community all together.
I'm Joanna Letourneau. I own Blackbird Baking Company in Pembroke. I do all cookies, so even though it's Blackbird Baking, I specialize in just cookies. I do a lot of gourmet, like drop cookies, and also custom artisan cookies, branded cookies for a lot of corporations and things like that. What I enjoy most about my work is probably the people. I've met so many amazing people over the I've been in business for 7 years now. So nice being able to get out. People come to my door and pick up when when at the farmers market, just being out with the public and people that I know, friends and family, and yeah.
At our farmers market, we have a kids table. We hope to have live music as much as possible. We have a food truck. We have cornhole. We have hula hoops. I mean, we have chalk. We have bubbles. We have as many things as we could think of to kind of like encourage people to stay and hang out a little bit and not just kind of get their stuff and go home. We want it to be a community event, not just a place to shop. We want people to come away saying like, I'm really happy that I live here. I'm really, happy that I get to go down the street and have this awesome market. And we also hope that people from other towns are drawn here and support our local economy as well.
Let's Visit the Farm is an event by Plymouth Pride offering LGBTQ+ Pride kids and their parents an opportunity to enjoy a day of horsing around with a menagerie of barnyard animals and spend time in community with other rainbow families. Be sure to bring quarters to buy snacks you can feed the animals. They really like that. The group will meet at the gate on Saturday, September 21st at 11 a.m. Just show up and look for the group of Pride friends. Please be aware that there are no facilities at the farm, so bring what you might need for your kids, and adults too. The farm is at 74 Obery Street in Plymouth. Gotta catch them all! Starting Wednesday, October 2nd, the Kingston Public Library is inviting all Pokemon fans ages 7 and up to travel and explore the world of Pokemon with other trainers. Each week we'll have something different and fun to do related to Pokemon. So come out and be with your Pokemon friends. Pokemon Club runs from 3:15 to 3:55 in the teen room. For questions, feel free to email librarian Kat Dwyer at cdwyer@kingston.ocln.org. South Shore Community Action Council has been on a mission to eliminate poverty on the South Shore since 1965. Here's more.
South Shore Community Action Council was founded in 1965 as part of President Johnson's War on Poverty. We are one of over 1,000 community action agencies across the country and over 20 community action agencies in Massachusetts. Our designated service area extends from Hull down to Plymouth, but we actually provide services as far out to the east as Provincetown and Cape Cod and the Islands. And we also provide services through our transportation programs almost to the Rhode Island border. So we have a really large footprint. Our mission is to eliminate poverty, and we do this by working in partnership with other members of our community, folks from the business sector, other organizations, community groups, volunteers, you name it. Every part of the community can come together and play a role in helping us eliminate poverty and ensure a brighter future for everybody. The Food Resources Program has actually been partnering with the Plymouth Family Resource Center for a couple of years now. They have a market that they offer every, I think, 2 weeks or so. And it's basically open for folks to come and receive food if they need help with food. They can get clothing if they need help with clothing, diapers, all kinds of different kinds of basic needs supports. And as an add-on to that, we decided to expand. We actually have a partnership with the Greater Boston Food Bank. And so with the food that we get from Greater Boston Food Bank and our partnership with the Plymouth Family Resource Center, we decided to basically implement and try out a mobile pantry.
So Meal Kit Monday is a way for us to give out food, non-perishable and perishable food, to people in need. And we try to make it sort of interesting, like not just give them a bag of food. We want to be able to have them sort of be able to make a meal out of the food. It's like we try and give them the staples to make a meal, say tacos or a pasta sauce. And then we, as well as all the fresh stuff that we bring along on those days. So we'll bring whatever vegetables, fresh vegetables or fruits, meats, milk when we have it, eggs, butter when we have it, as well as the dried goods. We're trying to bring a bunch of fresh stuff that you don't normally get in just a non-perishable way.
It's really helpful to increase access by bringing food directly to people. So folks can walk right through that to the location at the Plymouth Family Resource Center. And, you know, we do try to provide a good variety of things so you can really show some respect and integrity in letting folks pick the kinds of food that they like to have and that their families like to have. So they do try to get there early so that they have the best pick of the items that we have. But it's been a great support. We have a lot of folks who do unfortunately have to come, you know, with some frequency. But we also do get a lot of new people each week. So, the word is getting out. We're grateful for that. And we definitely want people to know that if they need some help, they can come second and fourth Monday of every month. The Plymouth Family Resource Center posts the hours and the days. We post the hours and the days on social media as well. So folks can just follow us on both of those, either them or us on social media, and they'll be able to find out how to access the food.
Plymouth Family Resource Center is a spot for youth and families to come for basic needs. There's some groups that we do for youth and for parent education courses, and also we do family fun events. It was really interesting. We were having conversations about like, how can we get more food into the homes of people, right? And then Marie and Kathy, they do such a wonderful job at the South Shore Action Community Council, and they already had pre-made bags that they would give out that were like leftovers. So then it kind of then took off from there and was like, wait, could we then come up with an idea of giving people a meal already made? And then that's when Meal Kit Monday was then established, and it started off with just the meal kit bags, right? So it just started as a bag, and now complete market. So then it's like completely expanded. I think you can see one of my favorite parts about having programs like this is that you can see how grateful the families are from receiving the goods. And like the shock that they're like, oh, I get to have this for free? And you're like, yes. And then it's almost like you then can see that maybe they're budgeting or whatever it may be, like if it's food stamps that they're using or if it is money, regardless, right? It's like you just see it stretch a little bit more.
Let me just say, I have the best volunteers in the world. These people are so dedicated that there's no words. We wouldn't be able to survive without them. They're just my heart. They come all the time, even when they can't work the full shift. Well, Marie, I'll come and just do this, and I have the best volunteers in the world. And we wouldn't be able to function without them, actually, because there's 2 people in this place, and that's it. Without the volunteers, we'd have nothing. They're just the most awesome people in the world.
To anybody who might want to volunteer, would encourage them. We have on our website, sscac.org, we have an annual calendar of volunteer opportunities that also includes a link where folks can just go and sign up. We try to make it as easy as possible so they can get more information about volunteering on our website, and they can sign right up on our website, easy peasy, and we'll get you up and running if you want.
Food is a very touchy subject for everybody, right? And I think it's very hard for everybody to access food, fresh or non-perishable. There's a stigma involved with it. They feel, oh, we can't do this, but everybody needs help nowadays. I think that this just is offering another way for people to come together. They meet other people and are able to access good food.
I think everybody knows at this point food insecurity, especially coming out of the pandemic, is really high in our communities. And what we find, one of the things that we do as a community action agency, every 3 years we do a really comprehensive community needs assessment. We just finished our most recent one in 2023. And what we found is that 40% of the low-income people who responded to our needs assessment survey said that they were worse off now in 2023 than they were prior to the pandemic. So these are low-income households who are already just getting by on a razor-thin margin. And they're worse off now in 2023. And what happened, during the pandemic, there were a lot of supports, a lot of expanded benefits, a lot of programs put in place to help people really just maintain some financial stability while everything was so topsy-turvy with the pandemic. Coming out of that, though, now, a lot of those programs and expanded supports have ended. And so families they don't have as many resources available to help them. On top of that, we all know, everybody knows, everything is super expensive. Food's expensive, gas is expensive, utilities are expensive, rent is expensive. Everything that you just need to pay for your household is expensive nowadays. And so, put all of those things together, the low-income households who are worse off now, that are losing extra supports with the cost of everything just being through the roof, it makes sense, and it's so obvious, and yet it's right there in our schools, it's in our workplaces, it's in our stores, the people in line behind us at the grocery store. We don't know what kind of struggles they're having, but we know, just in our work, that people are really struggling. So I put the word out there to everybody. Please, the pandemic may be over. The pandemic may be over. We want it to be over, but there's still a lot of ripple effects that are happening, and folks just have not completely stabilized after the fact. So please, continue to engage, continue to support, continue to raise awareness, in your community about the need for assistance that's still out there.
Learn more about this amazing nonprofit at sscac.org. The healing energy of Reiki has been shown to help reduce anxiety and alleviate aches and pains. On Friday, September 20th, Reiki Master Heather Petitpas will guide you through a holistic hour-long session at the Duxbury Free Library, where each participant will receive hands-on Reiki, or off, if you prefer. There will also be mindful reflections, visualizations, and body scan meditations to help calm, center, and unify your physical and emotional self. The group will gather in the resource room at 10:15 a.m., and you can reserve your spot now through the library's website. At some point in our lives, it's likely we all have experienced sweaty palms, our heart beating a little too fast for comfort, and the feeling of panic tightening our throats just before taking a test. Thankfully, there are practices that can be implemented starting at an early age to help make the test-taking experience less harrowing for kids with anxiety. On Tuesday, September 17th from 4 to 5 p.m., the Pembroke Public Library invites kids and their caretakers to Tackling Test Anxiety to hear local author Kathleen Jeffrey read her new book, Katie's Really Bad Day, and discuss some methods to calm test anxiety in young children. Kids will get to practice with breathing boards and discuss their own experiences with test anxiety. Best for children aged 5 to 8 years old, this event will take place in the meeting room. Register through the library's website or by calling 781-293-6771. Next up is original poetry from Sheila Lynch Bentinen.
That was wonderful, Jen. I'd like to thank Jennifer and, is it Paul? Paul David Shea and Colleen. Thank you. This is a beautiful space, and it has a very good energy, very calm, I think. So I love haikus, and I'm going to read 2 haikus and 3 short poems. My name is Sheila Lynch Bentinen. All my travel plans are in my sweet dreams at night. I have ventured far. A soft piano melody waves through the air, kitten on the keys. This next poem is about this neighborhood. Next door is the Pawtuxet School, and the library was built after the Pawtuxet Hotel. And when they were building the Pawtuxet Hotel, they found many graves of Native people. And this area, I gave a lecture on archaeology at the center over there, and this neighborhood has tens of thousands of artifacts of people who have lived here for thousands of years. So this is about this neighborhood. 3 comets. 3 comets flashed against the night sky that year. The last one was visible for 3 months around the world. 10 years later, an old Wampanoag woman from the West told the historian, "During the long, bright comet, that is when the great dying was worst." For 10,000 years, this neighborhood was Pawtuxet. Then the great dying. 2 years later, a big ship called Mayflower. Today, this neighborhood has artifacts everywhere. 10,000 years, 3 comets, everything changed. To-do list. Need to get oranges at the store. Remember to pick up eggs. Why is pi so mysterious, related to circles, cosmology, and infinity? Remember to get inspection sticker. Oil change needed. What is beyond the edge of the universe? Are there other universes? Remember to pay electric bill. Wash the dog. What happens to your energy when you die? Is energy neither created nor destroyed true? Have to clean out the shed. Buy a new shirt. Does quantum entanglement apply to humans? Why are we here? Eastern white pine. The television shouts while the lawyers for Lucifer parse evil versus wicked. An angel Gabriel is hiding in a faraway grotto. You will find me paying attention to how many ways the wind can whistle through an eastern white pine. Thank you.
For our last story, we revisit the impact of September 11th, 2001 on America's hometown with Dickie Quintal and others.
When I literally saw those towers starting to fall, I sat myself down to hold on, and tears were coming out of my eyes. It was a tough day for this country. It was more than a day. It was a tough time for us. So I decided, how I would like to build a memorial. Everybody was great. So many people helped.
We know there are many people out there who care a lot. We were just fortunate that somebody like Mr. Quintal had the means to go to that level, to show that he felt he had to do something, he wanted to do something, and he did a great job.
We actually had a procession when it was finished. In the next anniversary, we started at North High School. And we went from North High School, we marched down the waterfront on Water Street and then to the memorial. But in that procession, parade, if you will, we rented a big giant America. It was huge. And it was construction workers, employees from American Airlines and what have you. And it was really something. It was a proud moment for the town. It was very touching. I'm choking now, just thinking of it in front of me.
When you walk up, there's two things that, obviously strike you. The piece of steel. It's a pretty good sized piece of steel, and it's thick, and it looks strong, but it's twisted. The symbolic nature of that you can have something that strong that stood the test of time for as long as it did, but it only took a short period of time to take it down, and through an act of man. And then on the other side of that, you have the memorial itself with all the names.
All those names. And not only do we just put the names on there, we put them down by event. In other words, if you were 343 firefighters, you're all listed by the tower, whichever one you were in. If you were in the airplane that went in Shanksville, it's all broke down on those granite slabs by each incident. But I'm proud because that was the first one in the United States to list everybody. They do a ceremony every year, as you know.
It just gives an opportunity for people to come, albeit once a year, gather together and just have that remembrance and let the community speak to the officers and the firefighters who may otherwise not have the opportunity to do so.
Well, it's very important to me because this is a very sensitive experience in my life, and to see people not forgetting it is huge. And for me to be a part of it, it's overwhelming.
We have so many first responders that probably weren't even born then or, don't remember. And then, my daughter's here today and she is 17, so she wasn't born yet. It's really important that she knows what happened and how many people lost their lives and how many people helped.
But it's important as a country to come together today, too. Each of us in every community trying to do what we can. We can't let the division that was attempted that day divide us going forward. And so today is also a unity day. It's a day to say we're still together as one country, not just against this threat, but going forward for the benefit of our country. So I think there's many themes to today, but they're all central to what we are as Americans.
They're there because they want to remember. They're there because they want to participate in the event and never forget. I'd want people to bring more people to that ceremony so that they can remember. They can have that emotional connection to the day and to the memorial.
All in all, I'm just glad it's in Plymouth. I'm proud of it, and I want it for people to go and have a place where they could pray. That's really what it was. and it served its purpose. It still does.
You can visit the memorial at 1 South Spooner Street in North Plymouth. As there is each year, there will be a memorial at the site honoring September 11th's heroic responders and every life lost on that fateful day. The local scene will be there. Watch it live on Verizon 43 or Comcast 6 beginning at 9:30 a.m. on September 11th, or live streamed on our YouTube channel at The Local Scene. And that, my friends, wraps this episode of What's Good and Good to Know in our area. Thank you for watching. And we thank our patrons, Tiny & Sons, Quintal Brothers, and Squinny's Pizza for supporting our mission of community in action through media. We'll see you on The Local Scene. For more of what's good and good to know on the South Shore of Massachusetts, hit the subscribe button. And thank you for watching.